I'm going to show you how to make the sunfish. I don't make tutorials very often, so I cannot make promises on how easy to follow this is, but I'll do my best. It's a pretty simple pattern. And yeah, so we'll go into what you need for it and get started. So what you're really going to need, animal eyes, 2 of them, obviously. You can use buttons if you want, but I use these because they stay nice and secure. Scissors, cut your yarn. I'm using a size H hook, which is a 5mm hook. That's just my preferred size of hook, specifically for this type of yarn, which is just medium worsted, which you're going to need 2 colors of. I'm using a pink and a white for this one. This one I used a mint color and a slightly off-white color to make its belly. You're going to need stuffing. I have mine just shoved in this little bag for easy access. You're going to need a needle to sew in the ends as well as attach the flippers and the mouth, because these 2 upper flippers, these 2 side pectoral fins, and the mouth are all done as separate pieces and added on. The tail fluke is actually done as part of the main body, and that's actually how you close the end of this up, but we'll get to that in a bit. You can use either a needle that has a sharper tip, or you can use a blunter yarn needle. I'm going to be using this one just as a preference. I like the longer needle. It's easier when I'm trying to hide ends. And the other thing you're going to need is a stitch marker. You can use a plastic one, you can use one of the light bulb safety pins, you can use a safety pin, or you can just use a piece of yarn. I'm going to be using one of the light bulb ones because that's just what my preference is. So we're going to start off with the pink yarn, which mine's a little messy, please excuse that. I'm trying to find the end of it. Please don't be like me. Have your yarn nice and neat. I just really wanted to use pink, and this was the only ball of pink I surprisingly have. All my other pinks are dark pink, and that's not what I wanted. Or they're the wrong weight of yarn for this project. Because this is medium worsted, so it's this is like your standard. You go to Walmart, you see a yarn, you pick it up. The pink one is specifically, I love this yarn, and it comes from Hobby Lobby. The one I'm going to be using for the belly is just Mainstays in white, which is just a Walmart brand. And this is just acrylic yarn, so you can see medium waisted. Wants you to use a I hook. I'm using the H hook. You can use a smaller hook too if you want. I don't recommend using a larger hook than what I am using though, because otherwise you'll end up with too many holes in your projects and it won't look as nice. You don't really need to know a whole bunch of crochet terms or anything like that for this. Just your basic chaining and your basic stitches. This project uses doubles, half doubles, and singles, but it's primarily just singles that make up the bulk of this project. I'm sorry, I'm just talking while I untangle my yarn. And it is worked in the round, which is why you need to have the hook. And hi, Bubby, are you lonely? My cat is underneath my work table because he is lonely right now. So he keeps rubbing up against me. So if the table moves, I apologize. He's a large cat. Hi! Please do not jump up here. I beg of you. I know you have food in your dish. Sir. This sunfish was made out of red heart. I should say that too. So it doesn't really matter which brand you have as long as it's the same weight. Mix and match brands as you want. Just as long as it's medium worsted, it should work. You could make it with the chunky too if you wanted to. That would be a pretty big sunfish, and I'm kind of tempted to do that later. You good now? Bye! There we go. Finally got my yarn untangled so I can actually start this project. Also, please don't really mind the fact there's a line right here. I'm working on a double table, and so it's just, that's where the table folds. So you'll notice that it starts the spiral here. We're going to do a chain instead of a magic ring because that's how you get the nice oblong shape that this has. And we increase it a few times, but you only increase on the top of it, and you change the yarn. So you can't see it because the mouth is here, but this blue actually goes to right here, and I started the belly on the third row of this, and you just keep changing the color. And I carried my yarn through the back, so if you looked up close you could see a bit of the white peeking through it. I don't mind that look. If you don't want that, you can see the blue on the belly as well. If you're not a fan of that look, you can drop the yarn and then pick it up when you change the color. I do that just to keep my tension even all around, and I don't mind the look. So we're gonna start off with chaining 7. So make your slip knot. A lot of videos I see when I watch the crochet tutorials, I'm not a tutorial maker. I don't do this normally. I'm bad at it. But normally I see them make their slip knot with their hook. I choose not to. It's just faster for me to do it off my hook. And so you're going to chain 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So you'll have 7. And now we're going to single crochet into this stitch right here. Not this one, but the one next to it. So that was the 7th. So this is the 6th. And you're going to do 1 single crochet, and then you're going to single crochet across 2, 3, 4, and then you'll be at your last stitch where your knot is, and you're going to put 3 crochets into that one. So 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and 3, and you'll now be rotated and you'll start working up this way. So we have our 3 there, and then you'll see the hole left from the stitch before the 3. So put 1 single crochet into that hole. So 1. Then again, there's another hole left from your first pass. 2. There's another. 3. 1 more. 4. And then you'll be back to the very first stitch where the 7th chain you kind of skipped over, and you're gonna see that little hole that's right there, and you're going to crochet 2 into this one. So 1, 2. And you'll notice I worked over my tail slightly here, and that's just a force of habit. So add your stitch marker on now. And then we're going to crochet 1, 2, 3, now we're actually changing color here. So you have 3, and then you're gonna go into this one as if you were going to do a normal stitch. So you have the 2 pink loops on it, and you're going to grab the tail of your second color. And this is how you start doing the belly pattern. So hold your tail firm, grab the tail of your second color, also hold it firm, yarn over with the second color, pull through. Then you're going to single crochet 1. You're going to single crochet 2, and then you're going to put 3 stitches in 1. This is how you're able to expand your rows. Instead of like when you work in a circular pattern with most amigurumi, you are working in an oval now, and to keep this oval from kind of wavering, I'm only putting an increase here and an increase here. This keeps the oval thin, which will allow us to get the nice flat-ish round shape of a sunfish. So because we put our 3, and then we're gonna do, because we had 2 on this side, we'll do 2 more on this side. So 1, 2, and much like when we swap from the pink to the white, we're gonna drop the white one, pull it tight, hold it to your round, and then pull the pink through. I've been carrying the pink through this so that I'll be able to easily just grab it because it's already lined up. So now holding the pink, we're going to crochet 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll notice we're back at the top, and this is where we had done the original point with 3 in it. So once again, we're going to put 3 in here. So 1, 2, 3. Now it gets easy to tell where you need to add your white because you're just going to line it up every time with the row you did beforehand. So we're going to crochet 4 pink. 1, 2, 3, 4, and like before, instead of using the pink to pull through with the white. So because we increased on the last round where we had 2 and then we increased, we have 3 and then we'll increase, and that'll continue around. So 1, 2, 3, and you'll notice we're at our point again, so we'll put 3 into the 1 stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and then you'll notice we have 3 stitches just like we had on the other side. So 1, 2, and on this 3rd stitch we're going to pull through with the pink again. And you'll see this is why I kind of bring the pink with me throughout it. It just makes it easier when I get to that point where I need to swap my colors. I also am sorry that it's like overexposed every so often. It's very sunny. I'm just going to pull more of this out because it keeps getting caught. What's up, Joey? So I also have these 2 loose tails in here, and you can just ignore them because you're going to stuff this in the end, so it doesn't really matter that much if you have some tails. So like over here we had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we had 5 because of the increase from last round. We're going to crochet up 5 and then increase again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, and 5. And you'll notice it's starting to bubble and create a rounded domer shape. And you're basically just increasing the 2 times on each row, once in the white, once in the pink, and you knocking things over, cat? And you basically could just, hi Bubby. You lonely? So you can basically just keep doing this until it's as tall as you want it to be. I'm going to try to match the same as I did on my first on my first sunfish. So I increased it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I increased it 6 times, and then it's just the same count all the way through, except I would change my color and eventually stop using a belly color to create this nice divide like a mola mola has. Like if you look them up, they have the white underbelly and then it's mostly their main fin color up on top. Do not jump on my table, cat. Do not. I see your brain working. I see you thinking. Quit it. Turn your brain off. Anyway, back to the actual crochet thing instead of me yelling at my cat because his tail is swishing and I think he wants to get up here. And I don't want him up here because I have a soda in my iPad up here and I don't need him ruining that or my Switch. So 1, 2, 3. And then we have the 1 stitch from our increase last time, so 1. And then we have our next marker. You'll notice that unlike some amigurumis and stuff like that, like they'll have their start round on like a bottom or something. Because of how the color shift works on this one, it's actually up on the top, but you really can't notice it. Because you'll notice with him, you can't really see. And I actually stop using the stitch marker once I get to the solid. Once I'm not increasing anymore, I just start using no stitch marker and just keep going, because I'm going to eventually want to end it up on the top here so that I can crochet down, and then I'll do the scallops. But that's getting ahead of ourselves, so. And yes, I keep picking him up because it's an easy way to explain what I'm talking about by showing the completed one as I'm working. So we're going to crochet the pink the same as last time. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But then we swap to the white. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're going to increase. So 1, 2, 3, and then back to singles. So 1, 2, 3. Oops, hook fell out. 4, but then you grab your pink and then crochet up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And basically the number that you have to that you crochet down each time increases by 1 on each side, because you're adding 2 stitches each time at the point. So once more, 1, 2, and 3, and then you have the 2. So 1, 2. And you'll slowly see the mola mola shape kind of picking up. So like if you compare this, you can see that this right here is around where the eye is. So I'm going to increase it 2 more times, and then we'll start just doing rounds. And you can make your mola molas as like long or as flat as you want them to. I liked how this one looked when I was working on it. I kind of had a picture of one up and I kind of held him to it and was just like, this is roughly the shape. I am not very accurate when I'm doing things like this, because normally I'm just kind of ad-libbing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, swap to white. Joseph, stop chewing plastic. Spit it out. Hey, spit. Child. Quit it. And you'll notice it looks like my yarn's kind of tangled, but it's actually just rotating around one another. So if this gets too messy for you, if you're using the same method I am, just unwind it. You can just spin your project around, but I have no problems just pulling it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we'll add 3. So 1, 2, and 3. Then 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pick up your pink. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. and 7. And then we're going to do 3. So 1, 2, 3. Then we'll have our 3 here. So 1, 2, and 3. And you can see it slowly building up to the shape of this. Yep, so I'm going to increase at least one more time. Would you lay down, child? You flop. Hey, do not bite my literal ankles, Joseph. So, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Swap to white. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we'll do our 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But swap back to your pink. And you can see this is why I work over the end of it while I'm doing it. It just makes it easier to handle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then add 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then crochet 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And there's a cat hair. I have 3 cats. It is inevitable. All of my projects have cat hair in them. So you can tuck that away in there, but you can see how it's got its nice little head now. So you'll see that's where I stopped increasing, and then I'm just going to crochet around. So because I'm no longer increasing and I'm not tracking that, I'm going to swap to not having my round marker. You can keep yours if you want to. I'm not going to because I know what I'm doing. I'm just keeping it and making it longer. And for me, my belly is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows long. And I started decreasing on the last 2 rows in order to create this tiny little round part instead of having it just straight like here. And then I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows after that in order to connect it. So I'm just going to keep crocheting along until I get there. And now you don't add more stitches at the ends unless you want to make a larger one. I'm going to just go around, and this is going to start causing it to go back instead of creasing. Same thing as we've been doing, so just single crocheting, swapping your color where the white swaps. And we'll add eyes once we're done with the belly. Alright, and you might have noticed that I pulled out a bunch of rows to come back to here, and that was because my sister distracted me and I did a row too early. So now you're gonna, instead of swapping to white with that pink stitch, you're gonna keep with the pink. Into the first white stitch, you're gonna go in with the pink, but instead of grabbing the pink, you grab the white. And now this is one white shorter. So you're gonna go all the way around till you get to the last stitch of white. So 1, 2, 3, well, the second to last stitch. So when you're in the second to last stitch, instead of doing it with white, swap to your pink and then do pink in the last white stitch. And now it is 2 shorter on the pink, on the white I mean. So then we're going to repeat that on the next round. And then we're going to actually cut the white yarn after the next round because we no longer need it. It has served its purpose after the next round. I had to mute part of the video, you might have noticed, because you couldn't hear the fan or anything like that anymore, and that is because my sister came in to talk to me, and I don't want to put that conversation in things. So much like last time, instead of swapping to white on the last pink one, we're going to go with pink and then do a pink in the first white one and then swap to white and then go around. And then in the second to last one, you do your pink, pull through, swap to pink, and then I'm going to crochet a couple rounds over the white, but I'm going to then, so I did about 4 stitches, and then I'm going to snip the white, and I'm going to tuck the white inside and just continue around with the pink. And once I get to the top of the head, body, the whole fish is basically head. So I'm basically gonna stop here, pull my yarn so it doesn't come undone. And I'm gonna fold it in half lightly so I can get a good size of it. And for this one, I put the eyes in 1, 2, 3, 4 rows in, and it's about 2, 3 stitches up. I'm going to pull out a couple of eyes. These are safety eyes. They have locking backs on them. They're my preferred thing for crochet. And you'll notice this container is not a safety eye container. This is a giant Tic Tac container. But it does a really good job of keeping the eyes and their backings together, and it's easy access. And if I want to do crochet stuff on the go, I can just throw this in my backpack. That's the other reason I keep my stuffing in a little bag like this, is if I want to make amigurumis on the road, I can just throw all of that in my bag and be on my way. So I'm going to stick their backings over here. So I want my eyes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3. That looks about right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so what I'm going to do is, because this is such a flat creature, I'm going to actually just hold it in half, like holding it really stiff, and then I can poke the eye through the back and kind of figure out where it needs to go. So I know that the other eye needs to go there in order to be even with this eye. And that'll give us our derpy little mulla mulla. And then I will turn this inside out, grab my backings, click it on, click it on, and our mulla mulla now has eyes. Ta-da! And then I'm just going to keep on crocheting. You can put your eyes in at whatever step you really feel like. I do it there because it's just easier when I'm only dealing with the one skein of yarn at this point, and there's enough rows that the eyes aren't going to fall out. And I'm just crocheting around now. Alright, so now that we got the 6 rows down here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're going to continue up until the very top of the head, and then we're going to swap how we're crocheting this. So I'm going to fold it in half, so this stitch right here is going to be my last stitch. So now that we're up like this, I'm going to flip this over, and then I'm going to, so we're going to go through this as if we were going to go through a normal stitch, but we're going to go through the same stitch we just worked on as well, yarn over, and then make a single crochet. So we're going to start single crocheting 2 across. Once you're about halfway, pull your yarn up. You have a nice little hole here. Grab your stuffing. Hi, Bonnie. Make sure you stuff up between the eyes. Get right into where its mouth area is. Make sure you get up into the upper area of this. Just squeeze it a little bit to kind of shape it. But you'll notice it's now got the nice little mola shape. So, stuff your stuffing down and then press it back together. Retighten your loop. The reason I pull my loop out is just so it doesn't come undone while I'm stuffing it. You can also just use your stitch marker to kind of grip it, but I find it's easier to pull the loop tight, to pull the loop loose, and then continue as we were doing. Whoops. Make sure you get through both stitches properly. And then keep single crocheting. And there's a reason we're single crocheting instead of slip stitching it together, is because we're going to do a scalloped edge to create the fluke of the tail. And so once you've connected all of them, you'll see he's closed up, and we're going to turn. We're going to just slip stitch through the ones we just did, yarn over, skip 2 into the third one, put 5 double crochets. 4, 5. And then you're going to skip 2, so 1, 2, and then in the third one, slip stitch. Then you're going to skip 2, 1, 2, and then do 5 double crochets once more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you're going to skip 2 again, and then in the third, slip stitch, and then skip 2 again. In the third, you're going to do 5 double crochets once more. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So you'll notice you only have 2 stitches left, so just in that first stitch, slip stitch. And then snip your yarn, so take your end and just pull it through. And then take this end and just shove it into the body. So just shove it through, come out of a random hole, pull it taut, and then snip it and adjust your little. And there's your base done for your sunfish. So now we're going to do the side fins. These little side fins. You're going to need 2 of them. So take your pink yarn, make a slip stitch. You don't need this tail super long, just long enough you can tie it in. Then chain 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, and then in the second chain you're going to put 1 half double, and then you're going to put 1 double, crochet into the next stitch, and then yarn over and do 1 more half double here. Cut your yarn long enough to tie it, to stitch it in, and then pull the yarn completely through that last stitch, and that's 1 pectoral fin. So we're going to do that again. So slip knot, chain 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, one half double crochet, 1 double crochet, and then 1 half double, and then snip it long enough that you'll be able to stitch it, pull it all the way through, and there are your 2 little pectoral fins. We'll do his mouth next. Now this one's kind of more just like how much you want to do it, because like you could leave the mouth off if you want and just leave it like this, but I'm gonna make a little snoot newt for it. So you're going to chain, so you're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then join it back to here with a slip stitch. Chain 1, and then you're going to, in the circle, not into the stitches, into the circle. So yarn over once, so you have this hole here made from when you combine the circle. Stick your hook through, pull through, and do a half double, and you're just going to do about like 10-ish half doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So once you have those, find the very first stitch you did and just slip stitch it together. And you'll notice I crocheted over the tail of this, and I'm going to just snip that off, and then I'm going to take my last loop, put it around this, and then pull it tight. And then if you just pull your stitches down to stand upright, you'll see you now have your little snoot. This part where the bottom of it is that you did around the loop is what's going to become the front of the mouth, so you can see it's right there. So cut a nice long tail on that for stitching and put it to the side. So now we're going to do the top fin and the bottom fin, which are the same exact thing. To make these stand a little easier, I actually doubled the yarn. So for what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the center pull yarn that I've been using and then take the exterior line that I had wrapped up earlier, and we're going to take both at once, and we're using the same hook still. Make a slip knot with both of them. And we're going to chain 11. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And then we're going to skip this first stitch, and into the second one we're going to put 2 double crochets, so not double crochets, single crochets. So 1, 2, then we're going to put 3 half doubles, so 1, 2, 3, actually it's 4, so 4, and then we're going to do 4 double crochets, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's one fin, and so we're going to do what we did with the pectoral fins, and we're going to cut a nice long tail, but you don't need to make both strands really long, just one of them needs to be long enough to tie it. So I'm going to cut that one long, and I'm going to cut this one short, and then we're going to pull both completely through. So that's one, and we're going to repeat that. So once more, so slip knot and then chain 11, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, skip the first, single crochet 1, 2, and then double crochet, half double crochet 4 times, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And much like before, we're going to cut one with a short tail and then one with a long tail, and then pull it completely through. So now we have all our pots. So now we have all our parts. We have 2 fins, 1 dorsal, 1 under, I can't remember the term for that right off the top of my head, 2 little pectoral fins, a mouth, and the body. So with the fins, we'll start by attaching the under fin and the dorsal fin. So you're going to take the long strand that you left on one of the fins. I'm going to start with the underbelly fin. Is it considered an anal fin on a sunfish? It might be an anal fin because of location, but I'd have to double check. So it's up to you whether you want to sew it this way or sew it this way. One fin is going to face this way and one's going to face the other way. That's why one fin curls up like this and then the other curls that way. It's just the way it's crocheted. So you can just straighten it out as you want, but I have them. So I sewed this one like this. So with this one, you're going to line up with the back fin, and you're going to go right to where the first line of the pink after the belly is, and you're going to insert, pull up, go through the middle of your double crochet here, and then you're going to go back through the stitch that you just pulled up through, go through the next, pull it tight, and then you want to go through the knot that you have, that was your original, your little slip stitch, pull tight, go back through that stitch that you had, come out, and then what I did is I'm going to tie the loose tails together. So you have that tied together and that fin so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put pull all three, so all three on my needle, stick it through the same stitch that I was doing all my work through, and just pull all three of those through if it wants to listen. Pull it tight, and then pull it a little tighter, snip it close to the body, and then you have this end here, and then just do the same thing. So go through the hole that's closest to it, pull it through some part of the body, pull tight, give it a snip, hide the ends in the body, and then you have one fin attached. And then you're going to repeat this directly above it on the top. So we're going to take the top dorsal fin, thread on the longest of your tails, thread the longest tail, and so because we had 6 rows here afterwards, you're basically going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to go here. So you'll see, because this lines up, it's because you have the 1 row here, so this is technically the 2nd row that you had started. So you're going to loop it on and just stitch it down. Now the way I stitch it, you don't have to stitch it exactly like I stitch it. Just stitch it down in whatever way feels comfortable for you. So because this one's a little loose, I'm actually going to tie this end here as well. And I'm just going to do a nice double knot. I don't always tie my things down because they're more for display than anything. They're not really, I don't play with them. I put them on display if they hang out. So got it through the middle, through the next stitch, through the knot, and through a stitch near the end of the tail. Tie it with the 2 tails left. And you could do a single strand of yarn for the pectoral fin and dorsal, like do it for these fins, because I did it double just so it would stand up a little easier and be a little stiffer. That's why I did it that way. And then once again, we're going to hide our tails inside the plushie itself. The reason I pull it tight before I snip it is that way when you pull it to even it out, the tail will be fully hidden inside of it instead of being partially exposed. Because it'll pull back into the fluff. So thread up those 2 in through the stitch that you stitched through, out through a random stitch, pull it tight, snip it, adjust, grab your last tail, thread through a stitch, out a stitch, pull tight, snip, and adjust. And you'll see it just hides itself right on away. So there he is so far. And again, this is if you don't want to do the pectoral fins and you don't want to do the mouth, you could leave it like this. This is also a very good sunfish, very much sunfishy. I'm going to sew his mouth on next. So take your tail, take your needle, thread it on, and I'm going to line this up with right where the white starts. You can see right where the white starts. I'm going to insert my needle, and I'm going to go through the outside of the stitches and then go in back through that same, so it's the same stitch I'm already working in, and I'm going to go up to this next hole left by my early stitches, and once again through the outside to the in of the next stitch on that, through the hole that I was already in, pull it tight so your yarn doesn't get caught, and then you're going to continue that around. So through the outside, back through the same stitch. I'm going to move towards the center now. Through the outside, back through the same stitch. We're going to go up a stitch on this one now. Through the outside, back through the stitch, and we're going to go back to that first stitch that we were through on the center. Through the outside, back through the same stitch, we're going to go over one. Make sure you're pulling it tight as you work so that it doesn't come loose or tangle. So then we're going to go through the next stitch, through the outside, back through the one that we were already in, to the next stitch, through the outside, back through the same stitch, to the next stitch, through the last stitch, back through that, and then you'll wind up back in the original hole that you had started sewing the mouth to. Pull it taut, make sure everything looks adjusted, looks how you want it. It's got a nice little mouth now. And then I'm going to stick it through, wrap my yarn around once and twice, pull it through and make a nice little knot, and then I'm going to go back through that same stitch, hide my yarn through the body, pull it taut, snip, and adjust. And now he has his little beak to eat his jellyfish. And then last but not least, it's time to sew the pectoral fins on. So this one's up to preference of where you want to sew them. I stitched mine a couple of rows behind my eyes. You could stitch them right under the eyes, or you could stitch them further back, but I think they're right on the belly line of the white. So I'm going to take the longer of my longer of the two tails. I'm going to figure out where I want to position the fins for this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to put my needle in, go through the next stitch, and I did this backwards, so give me a second. Yes, I can pay attention to my own pattern. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want it to come out here. So 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go into this stitch here and then come out that next one. I'm going to go through the middle here, pull it tight, go back through that stitch and then out to the next stitch. So you can see like that. Pull it tight. And then go through the knot that is here. Pull it tight. Tie my two ends together to secure it. Thread the second tail on. Insert it through that last stitch that I had worked on. Come out in the body, pull it, snip, and adjust the little fin. And then we're going to flip him around, and we're going to sew it in the same spot on the other side. So in this case, because I want it facing, it's on the opposite side now, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go in the stitch, go through, and you'll notice I'm going over the top of this, and this just helps secure it down. Into that one, into the next stitch, and then out. Pull it tight, and then go through the knot again. Pull all of that tight, tie it with the other tail, thread the second tail up, and then through that same stitch, out a random stitch, pull it through, pull it tight, give it a snip, and just adjust it, and there you go. That's how you make a little sunfish with crochet. And you can adjust how tall the upper fins are by changing your chain stitch and how many half doubles, singles, and double crochets you do. I think I actually did fewer stitches on this one. I think I changed 9, and then I had 2 singles and then 3 doubles and 3 half doubles on these ones, so it came out a little shorter, but that's how you get yourself a little crocheted ocean sunfish. So hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and yeah, you can find the written pattern down below. It's just gonna be listed down there. So, and if you make one, let me see it. I'd love to see what you guys make.